Hello, nerds, geeks, and others who seek out culture in all various shapes and sizes. I'm Joel Davis, and this is Culture Cast. Joining me, as always, is our lovely host Ben Hart and Kimara Smith. So, how are you guys doing this week, everybody? Nice.
Pretty good.
That's awesome. That's good. That's
Not
good.
bad, not bad.
Awesome. Good to hear. Good to hear. All right. Well, before we begin, let's of course get our plugs out of the way. Did I make banners? I don't think I did yet. Nope. I gotta break. I gotta remember to do that later. You can do that. Don't forget to you gotta follow us on our Culture Slate at cultureslatebluesky.com. Follow us on Instagram. Check out our website and subscribe to our YouTube and all that good stuff. And of course, if you have a comment, we don't have super chats yet, but if you have a comment, leave a comment, and if it's a good comment, we might answer it. Because I like doing that. Because I'm nice that way.
Yeah.
All right.
How
Well,
generous.
I know I am very generous that way. All right. I got some memes for us. One's a sad meme. The other's a kind of sad meme, but more in a funny way. So let's start with the sad meme because it's something I kind of want to talk about. Because guys, we've lost a lot of people this week. We lost Dolly
Yeah, we have.
Parton. We lost Tim Curry. But the one that honestly hurt the most for me happened the day after Tim Curry. We lost Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime. And I just think of his famous line, be strong enough to be gentle. And that was Optimus Prime. That was Peter Cullen. That was the voice of a generation, several generations, to probably one of the most iconic, heroic robots ever. I love Transformers. I love the original. I love Prime. I love the games. And for a lot of it, Peter Cullen was just the voice of Optimus Prime. And yeah, it sucks. Kimara, I'll toss it to you as kind of a fellow Transformers fan. This one probably hurt a lot too, didn't it?
I yes and no. I think in many ways, G OG Peter Cullen, where it's G1 is obviously like the cornerstone of all Transformers. Like
Mm-hmm.
without G1, we would not have the 50 billion versions of Transformers we have today.
Exactly.
So in that respect, it is effectively losing a it's like losing an entire sheet of foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also, I guess, comforted would be the word because Transformers as a series has grown so much,
Mm-hmm.
and it has some hits, it has some misses, and while losing a pillar like Peter Cullen
Mm-hmm.
is utterly, utterly tragic and utterly heartbreaking,
Mm-hmm.
the franchise being supported by so many other creative people and so many fans of Cullen and his works, and also just being inspired by what he's done and what other members of his compatriots have done to build this entire franchise and expand upon it and grow it organically to the juggernaut that it is today
Mm-hmm.
is also a comforting thought unto itself. He might be gone, but the legacy will essentially never die.
It won't. It really won't. Ben, do you have any thoughts on the passing to Peter Cullen? You can also bring up anybody else too, because we lost a lot. We lost some big pillars.
Yeah, I mean, it just sucks, that losing so many, like, not even like, I would say these aren't low profile people. These aren't like, because sometimes, we will have, minor people that worked in the visual effects industry, whatever else, things, people that are big deal to people like us as nerds, but maybe the normal people wouldn't actually know things. No, these were all huge names. Peter Cullen, massive name in not just, for Transformers, but also voiced Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh and has this whole stage career going way back for 50 years. Then you have Tim Curry. Then you had Dolly Parton. And then, God, sadly, just a week or so ago was Hayden Panettiere. So, like,
Oh,
yeah,
that
a
one
lot
hurt
of
too. That one hurt
that
me.
one. So all these have just like really, really hurt. And I hope the Grim Reaper is done. Please, can we just let it? This year is take this, and that's just like there's a grand tapestry of like other people that have passed away this year. Like there were several like people from Home Alone 2 specifically that passed away this year. And it's just like, what is happening, guys?
Remind me of Hayden Panettiere. It's like, oh yeah, I think that one actually hurt the most because she was so young too. And it's like that one just.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, Dolly Parton, Tim Curry both lived to be 80. I think Cullen lived to be 85. Like, those are good endings. It's sad, but they lived very full lives. And somebody passes away at what, 30 something? Just like that hurts so much, man.
Maybe?
What?
I was gonna say, I think she was like 34, right? 34, 35.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And I didn't realize how many things she did. Like, I didn't know she was the girl in Remember the Titans, the movie I quite love. I mean, my mom used to watch all the time. I always knew her Kyrie, the voice of Kyrie from Kingdom Hearts, or at least the first two. But yeah, I didn't realize she did so much. So yeah, it sucks. It sucks. It's sad.
There's been a lot happening this week. Just a lot. Like, we get these celebrity deaths. We have just everything horrible that's just happening in Nepal right now, and there's just so much. There's a lot happening that I said I was doing all right, but man, when you really start to think about it, man, it has been a week.
It has. All right. This one is another sad meme, but more in like a kind of fictional way, because it will not slide in nicely with my topic. So here, this is from Tumblr. I found this on Tumblr and I found it hilarious. So I'm going to read it. Being a Star Wars fan is really just making peace with the fact you will never have peace. There will never be angst in your fluff. You thought your show was safe from Order 66? Lol. You thought you had to look at this cute fan art on Pinterest? Ha. You thought this edit was going to be crack? You poor child. I find this hilarious because like this kind of has to deal with something we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes of I just especially be doing like a prequel thing or a Clone Wars thing. Order 66, it looms over everything. It looms over anything. Like if you're a D&D player and you're doing a Clone Wars D&D campaign, and you're like, oh, it's just gonna be fun adventures in the Clone Wars. Like, nah, you're doing it wrong. You got to have the specter of Order 66 just loom over you. We were talking about the Clone Wars show, me and Kimara, this week. And like you brought up a good point. Like, yeah, Clone Wars is just like the ultimate ticking time bomb of like, season 1, it's just fun adventures. Ahsoka, Anakin. Let's defeat those evil separatists this week. And it's like every season, a little closer. And then like Siege of Mandalore, man. That's like one of the things I love about Siege of Mandalore. It's like starts out with, just a Clone Wars adventure before we reunite with Ahsoka. And then the minute Obi-Wan comes in and says, General Grievous has attacked Coruscant and kidnapped the Chancellor, it's like, oh, the clock has started. Yeah. It has begun. I'd say that's why I like this meme. But Ben, thoughts on this meme? It's not really a meme. Just
I mean, to just piggyback off what you're saying, like this meme highlights just like Order 66 is this nexus point. It's this like huge turning point, and I love the fact that we've gotten from so many different angles, and now you can watch YouTube fan edits of like all the different points of view. Order 66, you got Clone Wars, you got Jedi Fallen Order, you got Revenge of the Sith. All these different things that are playing at the same time, and you can basically link them all up and cross them. It's like everything, like basically Star Wars is, the rest of the movies are trying to screw up everything that Order 66, trying to fix everything that Order 66 screwed up. Like that's basically what the rest of the Star Wars movies are after Revenge of the Sith. So, yeah.
Kimara, any response to this funny meme?
I mean, it believe it or not, it turns out when you genocide an entire culture, that has some shockwaves.
Yeah.
It reminds me, we've talked about at length about this before, but it's always, that funny bit where you got that fan and they're always complaining, why are there always Jedi? Why does this always have to do Jedi? because this, guys, none of that you want would have happened without this thing that happened. And guess what? It was kind of a big deal.
It was. It really was. All right, now I'm gonna go into my new thing because my new thing is Zero Company has been released. It gets released today. There are let's plays of it. It looks a lot of fun. I'm gonna try and not spoil the story. Um, and I also chose this because I didn't I didn't want to make my story just the deaths of all the famous people. It's just too sad.
Right.
But I wanted to see a little something happier. But I'll just say what I really love about Zero Company is because I've seen the whole story. But I'm not gonna spoil it. But I'll just say, kind of broad strokes, is it does a really good job of like this is like a D plot in the Clone Wars, but it feels so seamlessly, nicely woven in that you don't feel like it. And what I mean by like this feels like a D plot in the Clone Wars is in the grand scheme of things, like, and this is kind of the part of the game. These guys are like in the background, like their lives and or deaths kind of don't affect anything. Um, there is in the trailer they do see Anakin Skywalker, so that's not a spoiler. That was in the trailer, so he is in it. But Anakin's just kind of there for like a mission, and then he goes off and goes and does his thing. But these guys are just like it's like a World War II movie where it's like here are the people that mattered, but you never heard of them because they're not the big wigs, they're not the famous battles. They're just over here. Um, and what I also really love about this game is that it does a really good job of weaving in various Clone Wars storylines and other things we know from the canon at this time that's sort of been set up, and kind of like, oh, they're from this planet. Or here's a great example. And this again, it's not spoiler. This is from the press release. Hawks, the guy or gal, if you customize them, because you can customize them. Their name is still Hawks anyway. Is a former officer who was dishonorably discharged because they got blamed for a massacre by Pon Krell of the Umbara arc.
Wow.
And
Okay.
the Umbara arc weirdly has a lot of tie-ins to this game. There's like a clone who also got fired by Pon Krell. One of your mates was an Umbar. It can't be an Umbaran who fought on Umbara, and saw the Battle of Umbara. For comics fans, if you are a fan of the Shantung War from Gillen Vader, that played the role too. And just it does such a good job. There's a character who is like an ex-separatist who still believes in the cause, but they got kicked out because they were looking too deeply into the separatists' finances and there was some corruption.
Wow.
But they still love the separatists. I think, yeah, a minor spoiler, but there's like a scene where it's like, we're trying to get back Sullust, and like the separatist assistants like, hey, Sullust legally separated from the Republic. Just the Republic trying to take it back for some reason, even though they legally did it, totally legal. But like it's such a fun game, just kind of like from a story perspective, just like it's on the side of the Clone Wars, but you get so much of like what's going on. You get little hints, and obviously, of course, you get little hints now and then of like, oh, Governor Tarkin has brought up some questions about this and that, and here. So yeah, I think Zero Company is a cool game because like new original characters that were kind of on the side doing their own thing, but you can feel the wider spectrum of the Clone Wars and just just how vast this whole conflict is. But Kimara, I'll toss it to you. Any thoughts on Zero Company from what you've heard? Any hot takes?
I mean, I think Zero. What from what you understand and what I saw in the trailers, and also just the general thing I love about Star Wars is yeah, some of the best plots are those D plots because, for better or worse, anything and anyone with the last name Skywalker cast a massive shadow over the entire 9-part movie series.
Mhm.
And all of that, from their perspective to the actions and trying to fix them, making mistakes, whatever is happening, all of
Mhm.
that is a massive shadow.
Mhm.
And it's why that, yeah, for me, and I know for a lot of other people as well, why when you got Clone Wars, some of the, and we kind of discussed this the other day, well, some of the best episodes and the favorite episodes were the ones with Ahsoka, were the ones with Padme, were the ones with clones, because
And Ventress. I love Ventress.
oh yeah, Ventress and her, her whole arc where she,
Yeah.
spoilers, love, you know, we love this part, of canon, whether or not you hate it in Legends or not. The fact that Ventress doesn't get murked is a miracle. But um, no, that is kind of just like one of the best parts of pieces of media of Star Wars media like this, where seeing these different angles, because it is a big galaxy. It's a
Mhm.
big galaxy far, far away, and there's a billion perspectives. There's a billion different experiences of things going on. That when we're looking at this Anakin Skywalker's tortured expression and long hair, it's easy to forget that. When, there was a war, there were multiple people, there were multiple factions, and we get little hints of that in Clone Wars, but yeah, it's only later on kind of that we've begun really exploring more of that. So I think it's a really good thing to have, and it's a direction I really hope that the franchise will take more of.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think I've sort of learned that when you tell the B story regarding the main characters like Anakin, Vader, Anakin, Luke, Han, Leia, etc., even if we get like a Rey, Finn, and Poe series, which I wouldn't mind, of course, that'd be fun.
I'm still holding out for that.
Me too. But at the same time, it especially if it's something between episodes, 8 and 9, like we feel that year gap. It has. I think you have to be uber clever with it because, and we talk. I mean, obviously with Clone Wars, right? Like, look, I love Anakin episodes. I love seeing Anakin's development with Ahsoka and whatnot. But you always kind of get a sense of like any sort of natural conclusions to like maybe where these arcs can go and you keep on developing, always are gonna hit a wall with episode 3. Like I was listening to a podcast the other day talking about like some of the Anakin Padme episodes and where like Anakin and Padme are really like talking about their relationship and actually like realizing maybe we aren't good for each other. Maybe this was a bad idea.
You mean
Um
getting married after 2 days after that dude I liked murder an entire village was a bad idea?
I know, and then
Shocker.
they have arguments and like actual discussion, but then and it's great. But the problem you run into, and the problem the episodes kind of always run into, which are kind of not the episode's fault to some extent, is well, and Padme still have to love Anakin in episode 3, so she can get choked and die and whatnot. So
Right
eh,
for the
whenever
fridge.
so whatever kind of arguments
She
they
has
have,
an appointment with death.
exactly
She
they
lost the will to live.
exactly. So they kind of have to wrap up whatever they go. And like, okay, now they forgive each other, blah blah blah. Which is why something like Zero Company or even and Rebels and Jedi Fallen Order, what I think they do so remarkably well is like, yes, these characters are not going to change the galaxy. They don't, overthrow the Empire. Zero Company is not going to stop the Order 66. They're not going to stop. They're kind of inconsequential. Even the villain they deal with, like, I'm not gonna say he's inconsequential, but it's like they're like a C tier, D tier villain while Palpatine's like doing his thing. But what I love about it still is like, yes, but it's such a good character arc and it's there's such good character arc, such good character writing. It's like you kind of don't care that at the end of the day these people will have maybe, or if they do have impact, they will not be like the big impact that Luke or Anakin or Rey will have. It will be just like in this little corner and the galaxy will never know. But Ben, I've talked about. What are your thoughts on Zero Company? What you've seen? What I've told you? What other people have told you?
No, I haven't seen a whole lot from the game just yet. It's personally not a game that I'm getting anytime soon. I'm not the biggest fan of like turn-based combat. I think I realized with my limited playthrough of Knights of the Old Republic that it's maybe not my style.
feel you
No
there.
disrespect to like that game. Obviously, great game, great story, and other games that are like it. Just like I'm not sure. I'm not a huge gamer. I'm a very casual gamer. It has to be something that's really catches my fancy to really get into something, and I'll get obsessed with a few games. But I'm not sure Zero Company is my style. But I still want to give it a shot. And yes, if it if it goes on sale on Steam, sure, I'll buy it. Sure, what the heck. And apparently, speaking of Steam, it apparently had one of the biggest ever. I think, like next to Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, it had like the best first day on Steam for a Star Wars game, which is pretty cool. So, and from what I've heard, it's excellent. I've heard nothing but good things. I'm glad people are happy. I'm glad that Star Wars gaming is something that in the past there's been a lot of cynicism around and a lot of like negativity around. Rightfully so, because it was in a bad spot there for a while. It's good that we're having more developers besides EA coming in, doing great Star Wars games, and doing something for a big fan base there that obviously really loves turn-based combat and a game like this, and getting into the Clone Wars era, which I think you would think would be played out by now. Like, I think obviously there's a lot of stories with Anakin, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Padme, and I think trying to squeeze more in, is pushing it, but it's a war. Obviously, there's a million different stories at various different levels that have happened during that time. And I think I like, I like what you said, Joel, that like ultimately it's important to like explore nobody characters, like characters we've never heard of, because that's where the stakes are. It doesn't always have to be like the state of the galaxy. It's like, you make me care about a character, then I'm going to be invested, and then I'll be invested and caring about what happens to that character. It doesn't have to be, the fate of the galaxy at stake. So ultimately, where we go from here, I don't know. I'm very curious to at least watch the gameplay footage from the game and see what the actual story is, because I at least want to know what's going on there. And I'm a big Clone Wars fan, so like I'm a little bit of a FOMO, like seeing everyone play it and seeing the gameplay. I'm just like, oh, Clone Troopers and Umbar, like, oh, Umbar, they're getting all the niche, tiny references to different Clone Wars arcs and mentions of Pong Krell in the year 2026. Good Lord, didn't realize that would happen, but here we are.
I think what I think what I love about it also is like when it comes to like that Umbar stuff is like it's able to kind of take a moment and like actually kind of like talk about it in like in a little bit, where it's sort of like when we get to the Umbar arc, you get the Umbar arc, and then it's like, okay, on to the next one, whatever. But I forget
because in the Umbar arc, sorry to spoil anything for anybody, but like we have a major clone character death in the Umbar arc. We have this Jedi general going rogue and pledging his allegiance to Count Dooku and then getting murked at the end. And then we have, the Umbara, which is the home planet of Sly Moore, the Grand Vizier, or one of the Grand Viziers of Chancellor Palpatine. And, that arc is basically just a self-contained story. There's no mentions of it outside of that. You never hear about Pong Krell again. You never get any backstory on like what happened with Sly Moore. Their planet was with the Separatists, and then we went to war with them. What happened there? There's none of that.
The entire
And
Umbara arc
sometimes frustrating about Clone Wars.
It's just like it is Clone Wars Vietnam. It has to be there to it has to be there to wreck the clones' mental health even more than usual. It has to serve like three main functions. It has to be there to be the Clone Wars Vietnam, because up until then, not everything is scot-free. Not everything is just shiny. But up until then, you, especially you get that understanding and you get that feeling where you have these important clone characters, these named characters, who some of them will die, yeah, but it's almost like they're at times invincible. It's almost at times where like they will succeed. They're the heroes of the story. And you got their Vietnam. You have to put in the point where, well, you created an entire series that has gone out of its way to completely counteract fan concepts and fan understanding of the Jedi's role in the Clone Wars, which is that they're all cold utilitarian weirdos, leading a bunch of cold utilitarian weirdos to fight a bunch of cold utilitarian weirdos. And the whole up to this point where you're like, no, the Jedi, they're actually pretty cool. They care about their troops. They're good. They hate the war, but they'll fight because it's necessary. You've got these awesome clone heroes, and then you have to put them in this dark, shadowy jungle place where everything's trying to kill you, Australia style, where you're not the good guys. You're an invading force coming in. Where, hey, guess what? Not all Jedi are great, actually. Hey, guess what? You know that thing where Jedi are supernaturally powerful and preternatural? Turns out there's a reason if you get enough clones, the Jedi will drop. Oh, is this foreshadowing? I wonder why.
Yeah, and the game, and I get a little spoilers for the game, but I guess nobody has any cutscene. Like the game deals with that. Like the game deals with like Hazard Baran, who's like he's not evil. He's not like Moha. It's like yeah, I was just defending my home, which you occupied. I have feelings about this, complicated feelings. Like it's like, and obviously not everybody has the information. Like like they don't know. A lot of people don't know that Count Dooku is a Sith Lord. Like that's another thing. Like nobody, not only a select few know, like Count Dooku is this evil red lightsaber wielding.
People know.
Pretty much.
Most people who find out are about to die.
Exactly. So as far as they're concerned, Count Dooku was a visionary, and I think that's why I like this game because like I don't want to take this too much of a Clone Wars review and then we'll move on. I think one of my oddest issue with Clone Wars has always sort of been, I always feel like the aftermath of a lot of arcs, not all of them, like characters like Five are there in the clone stuff, but like sometimes I feel like the aftermath of some of this stuff does not get dwelled upon a lot. Like I've always sort of joked for years, Mortis is the most important, least important Clone Wars arc in the Clone Wars because it happens and it never mentioned again, except for maybe like.
And on that note, with the Umbara arc, I remember specifically watching, spoiler alert, Waxer the clone die in Umbara. Very emotional moment for anybody that watched the Clone Wars, through and through. And then literally the next arc is the Zygerian slaver arc. And the first episode, Boyle shows up. His BFF, his best friend, shows up. No mention of Waxer's death, anything. There's no fallout. There's no anything. And it's like, because Clone Wars was like that. It was just very episodic and just like, you just assumed that like time had passed and there was no mention of any of this and all these were very self-contained. And it was frustrating at the time. Still is kind of frustrating.
Focus on the PTSD of the soldiers. You have to focus on the very morally great weirdness that's going to happen where we put a 16-year-old into a slave costume and send her off into a very unique scenario.
Happened too, didn't it?
Do you want to know what's something worse? That arc is based off a comic book that was written like a couple years beforehand, and the costume's way worse than the comic.
Oh,
it
yeah,
is.
Remember?
It actually is. I had that comic.
The arc is way more tame than the comic.
It was definitely like leaning, like they were trying to fix it a little bit. Maybe they should have fixed it a little bit more in the animated version, but here we are.
They're like, can we get rid of this? Well, no, she's the only alien here. We wrote ourselves in a corner.
Damn.
Can't get Shakti off of Camino or anything, I guess.
Nah, she got to torment Fives later in season 6. Poor Fives. All right. R.I.P. All right. I think that's enough. That for Zero Company. I'm excited. Go buy it or watch it. But yeah. But I have a feeling. Speaking of games might be a bit of a thing this podcast. So Kimara, I'll toss it to you. What did you bring to the podcast today?
Mine's a little tamer, I think. So tabletop gaming is meeting console/PC gaming again. Very recently, we've gotten announcements and also trailers from Wizard of the Coast, and Invoke Studios, and the guys who have people effectively in command and producing Dungeons and Dragons content and Magic the Gathering content and Hasbro, all of those different subsidiary companies. They're once again dipping their toes into the gamosphere with Warlock, a Dungeons and Dragons. Thank you, Joel. Dungeons and Dragons video game. As you know, in the last few years, we've had some Dungeons and Dragons has blown up a lot. The tabletop game has always been popular, but it really saw a huge resurgence when we all got locked inside and realized Zoom was our only access to the outside world.
No, I'm thinking of Skype. I got confused from Skype for a hot second. Like,
oh God, rest in peace, Skype. Skype's still around?
Nope, it's dead.
Nope.
Rest in peace, Skype.
Gone but not forgotten.
Exactly.
But yeah, we've seen a huge resurgence in tabletop gaming, and we saw a huge resurgence in one of their other works, which was Baldur's Gate 3, which was huge. People loved it. Everyone loved it. Everyone talked about it. Everyone tried to make out with half the characters in it.
Oh yeah, I had some friends who were like, that tiefling.
And now you got Warlock, where it seems like unlike BG3, you're kind of locked in, as the title suggests. If you know anything about D&D, warlocks tend to make deals with people and beings that are more powerful. They borrow that magic, and a lot of what this game seems to be is figuring out, yes, destroying enemies, yes, maybe doing a little bit of RPGing, but also in the back of your mind wondering, what was that devil's bargain made, and when's it going to come to bite us? So, thoughts?
It's interesting. I've actually not played a lot of D&D games, but because I just don't have the consoles for it, unfortunately. Interesting that they're sticking with just a warlock. Like, okay, a warlock, not a wizard. If you know me, you know why that's funny. No one else will get that joke. But womp womp. But it is interesting that they're not doing full on customization, because I do think that is part of the charm of D&D. You get to make a character from scratch, and hope your dice are kind to you that week or that day. But yeah, it's interesting that for people who just want to learn the mechanics of Warlock, they'll go for it. I'm curious, like, kind of what the story is gonna be. Like, what kind of god did she make a deal with? How much customization will there be? What's sort of the MO here? Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not quite sure what to make of it, honestly. Original D&D games have sort of never always sort of passed me by, outside of course, actual tabletop games where we actually do it ourselves, but that's a different story. But Ben, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is interesting how, I think it is interesting why there hasn't been even more like video game Dungeons and Dragons video games stuff like this. I find it interesting. Someone is just like a casual enjoyer of D&D, both in playing and in watching, other streams of it. It is like part of the fun of D&D is like the spontaneity of it, the imagination part of it, of just like, we're all kind of theater of the minding this and just like going with it. Whether you're listening to it, whether you're watching, or whether you're actually playing. But obviously people manifest stuff different things. So people don't, have that much of a visual imagination. I'm very interested in just like, okay, well, what could a video game adaptation of something like doing something that's more along these lines, or going further with it and just doing like a virtual tabletop or something like more of a game. Obviously, once you get further into it, it's like, oh, this is just WoW. This is just World of Warcraft or something, But I think there's a fine line there you could come to, and very curious to see like how this comes about and what this is actually going to be, because ultimately it could reach a different audience. I think if you're into D&D, if you're into tabletop gaming, that's your thing, that's how you're going to like it. But D&D is so huge. I suspect, I know the movie didn't do very well. Why we didn't come out and support that movie, I don't know. Why I saw it in the theater, it was great, man.
The movie was a national treasure.
It was great. And it deserved 5 sequels, and it is not getting any so far. But I think there's other ways that, like, okay, D&D is huge. Let's bank on this. Let's push it to the limits of, as we do in a capitalist society, in the Hollywood system. We take something and we run it into the ground.
Let's Corbin Blue this all the way to the bank.
Yeah, I think another thing about the D&D games, which I always think are interesting, is how do you kind of implement the dice of it all? Because that is kind of the fun of D&D, at least for me. Like, right? Like, I know other people have role play, other people have world building. Yeah. I love just throwing them dice and just going at it. I feel like I'm at Vegas half the time when I do that. Like, this is my Vegas experience without really losing money. I get to go like, oh, I'm on lucky 7. Papa needs a new pair of everything. You get snake eyes. But I am kind of curious, like, are they going to go with a dice system? Is it more like a classical smash and grab? Is it hack and slash? I mean, is it, more of an RTS? Like, I'm curious. But, Kimara, what are your own hot takes on this game?
So, to answer some of your questions, based on the gameplay and descriptions, it seems a little bit more like your traditional RPG, which I think is something of an interesting path you're taking. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is kind of an experiment unto itself, because Baldur's Gate 3, D&D, you know what you're getting into, and D&D is a power fantasy with gambling, in which, yeah, like you said, sometimes the fun is just throwing the dice and having things fail. That moment when you think you're going to be pulling off an awesome, incredible move, you're just going to do this epic, cinematic, battle sequence, and no, you roll a 1. And I feel like this is a little bit leaning towards that power fantasy concept of, unlike Baldur's Gate 3, unlike the tabletop, this feels a little bit more like the power is solely remaining in the player's hands. The power is because if you have played D&D, and if you've even ever done stuff with your character where it's like, well, I don't know, DM has you roll to set up a tent or something, but it's like, I live in the woods on a daily basis. I know how to do this. There's no reason I should fail. And while some people consider that fun, other people are like, okay, that's ridiculous. So this does feel a little bit like, all right, here's a warlock. Here's this person who knows how to swing a sword. This is this person with this power who knows she has this power, knows how to use it. What if we just give all the keys into the player's hands and let them actually do that? Now, is that going to stand out versus a traditional fantasy-esque RPG? I don't know. I feel a little bit like having that lack of stakes in the same way, unless this turns into yet another Souls copy. Having that lack of stakes, having that lack of dice, having that lack of chance doesn't quite make it D&D. And I'm curious to see if this is sort of them testing the waters and seeing how it turns out, and if we're going to end up with Druid in 2030 and Wizard in 2034.
Wizards! Yay! Wizards! We love our wizards.
So wizard.
No. You're right. I think yeah, because that has always been the kind of the funny thing I've always I don't want to say frustrating. A funny thing about D&D, I've always kind of found kind of fascinating. I don't want to say contradicting because that doesn't seem right. But in terms of like, you build up this character, right? You're getting all your stats. Like I have my stats for my character. I got dexterity and like I gotta put a little bit more into wisdom because that's a good one. Okay, blah 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 blah. Like I got high dexterity, I got high wisdom, I got high whatever, high religion, right? Something like that. And then like I should be able to talk to my god whenever I need to, right? But then you gotta throw these dice and you get a 1. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you have like, I don't know, 10 religion, you still roll the nat 1. You crit failed. Something silly needs to happen now.
You can have like a background as a chef, and then it's like, oh, you roll the dice. Guess what? You poisoned your entire party. You gave them all food poisoning. I worked at Fantasy Cordon Bleu. Doesn't matter.
Exactly. And say what you will about Baldur's Gate. I mean, I've seen people play. I do like how they at least try to implement the dice system a little bit because that's kind of that is kind of part of the experience. But if you're just going with a typical RTS or not RTS RPG, look, I love RPGs. I play Kingdom Hearts. That's an RPG, but that's just an RPG. What it's got going for it, it's a Disney RPG. So you got the Disney side of it. Here, it's like. And I don't know, this game could be awesome, but it's sort of like Dungeons and Dragons just seems like typical fantasy world. And for me, maybe I'm just an IP shill, but it's like for me, my fantasy worlds are Tolkien and maybe Narnia. That's about it. And Star Wars, I guess, because Star Wars is science fantasy. So it's like how will this stand out from just or Final Fantasy or something like that, and I'll be kind of curious to see what path it takes.
Indeed.
All right, I think we'll move on to the last one and the mysterious one because I am kind of curious when you told us this. Like I feel like I'm maybe just misinterpreting things or just not sure. But Ben, what did you bring to us? Because I'm not quite sure what you did.
I love to be mysterious, and for the record, we mostly keep our topics secret from one another, but we also have to share something. I shared the title of what I want to talk about, but apparently that wasn't enough for you guys. So I will explain. So obviously Gamescom is happening right now, still happening, has been happening. I don't know. I've been at work and I haven't been paying much attention to the internet, and I know there's a lot of stuff happening, and I know there's a lot of trailers, and obviously Grand Theft Auto 6, yes, I got it right, is catching the fancy of like everyone in the world right now, as it should, because it looks amazing. And there's a lot of other stuff, again, like Lego Skylines is a game that I'm very excited about. Like Lego City Builder, yes, please. Like that was immediate add to my Steam wish list. But another add-on immediately to my Steam wish list is a game that just happened to pop up literally before today. I didn't know this existed, I guess because it was just announced, but then we got a trailer for it today. It's called, and let me bring this up so you can see, Dumpster Gang. And the best way I can describe this, the best way I understand this to be, is think Untitled Goose Game, but with raccoons. You get to play, and this is the log line for those who are unfamiliar, and I'm sure you can find this. It says Curve Games and Coyote House Games have today revealed a 1-to-4 player chaotic co-op sandbox game called Dumpster Gang, coming December 2026 to PC, for Steam and Xbox on PC, and also available day one as part of Xbox PC Game Pass. Playing as mischievous raccoon, players will team up with up to 3 of their friends, also raccoons, obviously, as they live their best raccoon life, scavenging dumpsters, stealing junk, raiding snacks, committing tiny, harmless crimes, and avoiding the clutches of the evil exterminator. So basically, your job is to be a trash panda, wreak havoc, avoid the exterminator who's trying to kill you, and just be a raccoon. And this kind of ties in with my overall kind of gaming strategy. personally, because I am getting more into gaming recently. And I love online games. I love shooters. I love Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Fortnite and all this kind of stuff. But like getting into some just plain old single player crazy games like this. And I'm just like, yes, please. I might get this day one because it's just this is right. This is just great. This is the kind of game that is fun. Obviously, you can play it online. But I would love to just play this by myself. But I don't know how everyone feels about this. But this game just like it awakened my heart this morning. I was just like, oh, okay, I gotta have this.
Your desire to be a raccoon. Kimara, what are your thoughts on this game?
So after long last, we effectively finally remastered the Over the Hedge game.
Oh, I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
I didn't know that was a game, but nice.
Oh, it was the glorious days of the movie tie-ins, Joel. Everything was a game. But yeah, no, I did not see the trailer for this, but I can definitely see how and where this type of game is going to find an audience, because we have definitely hit that new stride of cozy, interesting, kooky co-op games in the last, I want to say 2-3 years now. Like, some have given it the unfortunate titles of friend slop, which I think isn't quite fair to a lot of the games. But sometimes you just want to play as a raccoon doing weird stuff. All right? It's the same vibe you get as like that one YouTube video of the dude sitting on his back porch and feeding 50 billion raccoons hot dogs. Okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get these. It's that one vibe. Oh, it's like that vibe you get of that one raccoon with a neck problem, and he looks like a cryptid running around. It's sometimes you look at these furry little bandits with their unsettlingly human hands and think, huh, okay then, I can respect that. And if that's what for you, that's for you. It might not be my cup of tea, but man, I know a bunch of people who are gonna love this sort of thing.
Yeah, it is interesting. You brought up a good point of like, yeah, we are kind of in this odd sense of the last couple of years of like these cozy games like this. I think of like Tamagotchi Life, which I have lots of friends who play that. Animal Crossing.
Well, and I think you have, like, to your point, you have like there is this like widening gulf. Obviously, there's a lot in between, but that you have like the ginormous games like Fortnite, like GTA 6, that are these massively online games. Then you also have your smallish games, like your Untitled Goose Game, like this, that are more intimate, that are more things. And even Fortnite has done that kind of the smaller co-op games that are not necessarily about like you getting in a lobby with 100 other people. It's like you getting in thing. And then, on to top that off, you have more single player experiences. Some of the best games that are beloved are ones like Red Dead Redemption and The Last of Us, that are you experiencing something. I think that's the variety that you get with gaming, is that it can be this social experience. It can also be a solitary one, but it's also about having an experience. So I don't know, like, I don't know where Dumpster Gang fits into all that, obviously, because it is multiplayer. I'm assuming there'll be a single player, but like, it is interesting that we're getting so much variety.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, the gulf between GTA and freaking Dumpster Gang. But no, this looks adorable. I would play it. I would definitely play it. It's fine. We all did games today. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I rounded it out with we all three did video games. It's a video game podcast now, guys.
Yay! All right, this was a quick one. This is probably one of our shorter episodes this week, but Yeah, I feel like we could have dwelled on like the sadness of a lot of the losses this week in pop culture, but we talked about video games. So hopefully the next 2 weeks will be a little bit more quieter on the deaths of famous pop culture figures. Please, that would be nice.
Way to
Uh,
jinx it, Joel.
yep, just damn it, I jinxed it. Shit. Ah, damn it.
Don't even say it. Don't even say anything.
Yeah, but hopefully we get some more games. I mean, maybe we'll get some game announcements, more game announcements too. I'm actually really looking forward to that Lego City Skylines thing. That looks amazing.
Low key, that may be a day one get for me. Like that looks so good.
I'm honestly surprised it took them so long to get to that point.
hmm I know that would be awesome. I know, like I'm surprised we haven't gotten a Lego City Builder. Like I'm always trying to think of.
I do hope that they do more like this. Like I think like they've done all the franchise games. They kind of topped out on that. Like do other types of games. I know they did a racing game recently. I don't know how well that turned out, but like doing different genres of games, I think. And like Lego is perfectly suited for a city builder game. Like that's a match made in heaven.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
since none of us can afford the real ones.
I know. I do have City Skylines though on my Mac. It actually does work, but like, I would rather
I feel
play
like I feel like the city, like the actual city builders, like a little too in the minutia. They're like making you like design a whole like city economy or wherever. So like, I just want to build some skyscrapers with Legos and make a big Lego city. That's what I want.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for like the minutia of running a city. That's why I'm not running for mayor of anything.
That's why you use cheats and get unlimited money, so you can pay people in game to do that for you.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Work hard, work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Well, everyone, thank you all for joining us this week. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, 2 weeks' time to discuss more things. And until then, this is Julius signing off.
Goodbye.